I think it's always interesting to revisit the topic of power creep in games like World of Warships. It's a hot button issue, and not just in this game, but all over the video game realm. My definition of it, it's when game developers introduce new items into the game that have more powerful stats and gimmicks, making old items obsolete. In wowsl, this could be a new ship, say BA Montana for instance. In another game, it could be a new character in PvP that has new abilities that could be better, or it could be a new gun only found through the newest battle pass to purchase. Now, the subject of our little case study today is BA Montana. How does BA Montana differ from Freetana? Well, I'm glad you asked. You're going to have a faster reload. Your AP shells are going to deal more damage, a better rudder, improved concealment, you get a speed boost consumable, better heals, all for the loss of some accuracy, some HE shell damage, firing range, and you lost your observation seaplane. Darn, it's as if every pain point of Montana were jazzed up a little bit and then some stats that don't really matter were nerfed. To me, discussing whether or not Neon Tana here power creeps Freetana, it's a waste of time. The writing is on the walls. I'll tell you how to fix it, but you're not gonna like it. What is more interesting to me though is to look at power creep in other parts of the game and see if we can find examples of it, or see if the game has been pretty true to itself over the last 5 years. Now I think perhaps the best way we could do this and look for power creep is to compare new tech tree lines that have been added to the game to the old ones, and then also look at newer commanders and newer collabs and just compare them across the board to see if we can find instances of power creep, or just to see if it's relegated to these standalone expensive premium ships that we've been seeing here in the last year or so be added. And speaking of that, yeah, the BA Montana, we are sailing her in a double feature today, both of them on the same map with the same spawn. And I thought that would be interesting for people to see maybe two different variations of how to play the same spawn. Even though we do a similar thing both times, you can see though where I kind of make the decision to do one thing versus the other, and it might be a good case study for Battleship play. And both games are entertaining with some massive paddlings, so could be worth sticking around for. Now back to the power creep. Are newer tech tree lines better than old ones? Well, I think there are a couple examples we could look at for this, and the first one I would look at are Soviet destroyers. So we have the original Soviet DD line. It ends with the Tashkent and the Delny. It's a pretty good line. We have a newer alternative Soviet destroyer line that has the likes of Boavoy and Neustrashimi, as this Wusta made a grave mistake and definitely pays for it, which is nice to see because sometimes a broadside light cruiser might get away with it. Not this time, and that is a pretty decent way to start off a match for sure. But yeah, the Soviet DDs. The Tashkent line is pretty good. It's not the most popular line for sure, not a lot of people play it, but I tell you what line is worse, and that is the Boavoy and the Neustrashimi one. So even though the alternative line is newer in its current state, it is much worse than the OG, and I think there are more examples of this that we could see. Sticking with the destroyer theme, the original destroyer lines in the game were the US line with the Fletcher, the IJN line with the Kagero at tier 7, and the UK line with the Lightning at tier 7. Now, the Pan-European and Pan-Asian destroyer lines are much newer, but they're not necessarily better. They just provide an alternative way of playing the same class of ships. The only one that breaks the mold of this that I can really think of are the new German alt destroyers. I think they are really powerful. The Z31 and the GJ Merker. Just go read stat lines on those ships. They are super powerful. Granted, they might be considered not overpowered because they're difficult to play, perhaps. I don't know, I can see Wargaming saying that. They are gun platforms, so yeah, maybe most players don't get the most out of them, but I think those destroyers are very powerful. Aside from that though, really, old tech lines to new tech lines, the old German battleship line to the new battlecruiser line, I think they really just provide an alternative way to play the ships while being pretty balanced. So 1 for 1 on that one, Wargaming. And that's going to bring us right to the commanders. Let's talk about the historical free-to-play commanders first. Some of the OG historical commanders I still use all the time to this day. Mikawa, Kondo, They are great inspirations. Again, use them all the time to buff the concealment of my ships, whether it be a cruiser or a battleship. Eric Bay, the same sort of thing. And Billy Sims, I still use as an inspiration on a lot of my gunboat destroyer lines to give them more HP. Now, newer commanders, are they better? Henrique Fernandez is pretty good. That is a newer commander, but really the Pan-Asian commanders and the Pan-European commanders that have come to the game, I don't think they're any better than the historical ones that have been here for 5 years. So 2 for 2 wargaming. I think historical free-to-play commanders are just the same as they've always been. They offer different skills, base traits, and inspirations, while none of them being egregiously overpowered. And you can see here, red team is folding terribly. In a situation like this where you really only have a bow tanking battleship in front of you, you might as well push and start setting up crossfires. I mean, our team was just clapping cheeks all the way across the board. And speaking of clapping cheeks, Musashi. Musashi and Yamato have really exposed citadels, so anytime you can line up a broadside on a ship like that, even if it is an auto-aim special and it takes no skill at all, you should absolutely line up that shot, because it could pay off and be a pretty nice little dev strike. Now let's talk about the paid commanders, and things might seem like they would get more interesting here, but, well, we'll see. So old paid commanders, let's go all the way back to October 2019 when a certain Halloween commander came to the game, Henry J. Hyde. Now this commander is still regarded by some as the best German battleship commander in the entire game. And again, he's old. You get 6% more battleship health as an inspiration. You get a really strong special skill that's going to improve ricochet angles. You get a hybrid commander with accuracy and brawling skills. So again, absolutely goated. Henry J. Hyde is super old, 5 years old, but one of the best commanders in the game, I would say. Making that list as well, I would say Vincent Mordoff, Victor Einstein. These are other Halloween commanders, and the OG Azerlane commanders to boot. Oh man. Azerlane Otago, yeah, sorry I said it. Azerlane Otago, Dunkirk, Nelson, they are still super, super good, you know, despite being old. They're very old paid collab stuff for sure. Now we can fast forward to this update where some may say we have got the most powerful commander update that we've got in a long time. And with that, I would agree. I think if you look at the whole of the commanders, you know, this is a pretty powerful group of them. And I'm embarrassed to say, actually, I'm not embarrassed to say, I do not have the names of these people memorized. They all, yeah. Okay, so luckily I wrote them down here. Shiroku. Looking at the stats of this thing, it's likely the strongest Brit DD commander now in the game. Massive reload buffs, observant rage for a Brit BB commander. Destroyer commander. Very, very good. Hoshino, American battleship commander. By the way, we are not using Hoshino in this game. We're using Azerlane, New Jersey. The next game, we will have Hoshino. Hoshino is good, though. I mean, this commander gets Dance with Death and Megalomania. These are massive reload buffs for a battleship. So overall, this is a really strong collab, but if you take the commanders out and put them up head-to-head against old commanders like Azerlane, New Jersey, I don't think this new commander collab is that much more powerful or that much more powerful at all. I think that the paid commanders are, you know, pretty strong across the board. Yes, you're paying for them, but at least 5 years ago you were paying for a strong commander, and you know, nowadays it's still the same. It's not a totally broken or completely outrageous commander. So anyways, I think all of the instances of power creep could be reserved for new premium ships entering the game. And this, when we look at it this way, it has been going on for a long, long time. Campaign ships. I mean, think about some of the campaign ships we've had. Some are CE, the Ochakov, the Mine CE. All of these ships have been super, super strong when they came to the game and definitely brought power creep about. Now, I do think Wargaming, when it comes to these ships, they do a pretty good job of buffing old ships to kind of try to allow them to compete. If you look at the original Tier 7 cruisers like the Baltimore and the Mogami and all of them, they've all received buffs to try to be more more competitive. So there is that. Really, the egregious examples that I think of are these standalone ships that you have to purchase outright for full price, no admiralty backing. The biggest one that sticks out in my mind is the Azerlane Shapayev. Day one, we knew the Azerlane Shapayev was really, really busted. You only had to play a handful of games. Uh-oh, hold on a second. There's a Minotaur here. This is, you have to be careful with your Brit light cruisers because they don't stop very fast. And when you don't stop fast enough, well, yeah, there you go. Another good way to start off a match here on our second game on Hotspot. But yeah, the Azerlane Shapayev, I mean, it did not take a rocket scientist to see that thing and to see the massive potential when you could see that one HE salvo was smacking a battleship for 5 or 6K and you were getting fires. I mean, okay. To a lesser extent, the Azerlane New Jersey, and this might be my bias, I'm more of a light cruiser player than I am a battleship player. But Azerlane Shapayev, to me, that is one of the most broken ships that was sold to us in the game, and it absolutely power crept the original version of the ship and every other cruiser at tier 7. Now to this list, I do think that we could add the BA Tirpitz and the BA Montana, who without a doubt power creep the free versions of themselves. Again, I don't think anybody would really debate this at this point. Oh, let's look at the match real quick. We have a Schlieffen pushing into us, so we definitely don't want to stay within his secondary range. So I'm going to start kiting back out and try not to give up a broadside shot to any of the battleships in the middle of the map. So that's kind of what my my thought process is here. Luckily, the ARP Musashi is not looking this way, so let's see if we can turn out here. Now, the next part of this conversation here is, why is power creep bad? And to answer that, I would say it's because it makes playing other ships less fun. It reduces the variety in the game. If you're only playing the newest, most gimmicky, most powerful, cool thing, then what's the point of playing any other old ship, which is not cool? Because in this game, there are 500 ships, and that is a lot of variety. That is a lot of different things you could do. But again, if you're just relegated to playing the most powerful thing to be competitive, the newest thing to be competitive, it takes a lot of joy and a lot of the fun out of it, because you could go play the normal Montana, but you're going to be at a disadvantage against this thing. So for me, that is why power creep is so bad, because it reduces the fun in the game. Now, the title of my video was how to fix power creep. The answer to that, you nerf it. You nerf the BA Montana, nerf the Azerlane Shapayev. Now, for me, this creates a whole lot of issues. There have been 2 premium ships that we can talk about that have been nerfed in this game, the Weimar and the Ark Royal. And both of them, it didn't really go over that well. I don't think this is a good habit to get into because, you know, people pay for this premium product and then coming along and nerfing it, it's just not a good way to do business, I think. But that would solve this issue of the BA Montana being so freaking strong, at least in my eyes. Really though, if you wanted to fix it, it would be best just to not add ships in this state to begin with, or in any other video games instance, just to not add things that have such better stat lines that are just better than the original content in the game, at least in my opinion. Okay, we've kind of sailed into a little bit of an issue here. We don't want to... I was going to go into the middle of the map and start working on C, and then this BA Montana popped up right in front of me, and unfortunately we're getting farmed from across the map. I don't remember what it is, though. Is it a Tulsa or a Des Moines? We catch up to both of those ships a little bit later. I just can't remember which one is actually shooting me. But BA Montana is backing up, so we're going to go ahead and make the turn here, and hopefully he can't get another salvo off before I get to the middle of the map. Now, we haven't really talked about this ship a lot, but there are some big advantages it has to stay alive. One of them is the speed booster, so you can take gyrating drill bits on your commander, your accuracy commander, and still use the speed booster to get around the map. Also, the heals. The heals are way better than the original Montana's heals, so we're going to use both of those items to stay alive in the middle of the map here, and to keep pushing over for another very, very big damage game. Now, some might say that this could cause the game to become stale if you don't have new exciting stuff being added to the game all the time. I don't know. I would be curious what you guys think down below. Also, what do you think of these ships? Do you think they are outperforming their counterparts? And by that, I mean the Montana and the Tirpitz. And also, I would be curious, do you think I got it right with the commanders? Do you think the new commanders are more powerful? Now, as for new ships not being added or the game becoming stale, I think new things can be added to the game all the time. New little gimmicks that are balanced. And the D7P airstrike, for me, that is a perfect example. And Des Moines, you've been spamming me for a while here, and I'm going to get my revenge. Oh my gosh, 3 citadels. Yeah, D7P. So it brought a new airstrike to the game, and I really thought it was pretty balanced because as a standalone cruiser, D7P isn't really that strong, but you got this kind of cool, fun, gimmicky thing to use with a little bit different style of playing the game. Pan-Asian destroyers. I think this was another example where you got deep water torpedoes. It's a new kind of gimmicky thing. It's something different, but it's still balanced. The new French supercruisers, there's another example. They're not better than the original cruisers, but it's just an alternative way of playing the game. And I think there are 1,000 different examples that wargaming could do along those lines of different styles of ships, different gimmicks, different things like that, that would also keep it balanced and be fun to play and just add more variety to the game. Now, I get it that this is a company that needs to make money, and I understand that, and I want to keep the lights on too because I enjoy playing the game, and you know, they pay the bills, they have more money for development and this and that, and we get to enjoy the game more. That's cool. But you know, I just don't want to see some players get more advantages than others, and I don't want to see so much other cool content in the game just totally be overshadowed by new stuff. So that's kind of where I'm at. Also, I feel like I got robbed a little bit on the Z52. How did I miss him that bad? Am I that bad at the game? I mean, it's a Z52. It's a giant destroyer. But there is only one ship left, and it's the Tulsa. Well, hello, Mr. Tulsa. We are going to come and play here, and we should be able to scoop up all of his HP here. Luckily, we can overmatch Tulsa on the front of his nose, so there's really not much he can do here. And the BA Montana with this faster reload and higher shell AP alpha, I mean, it's just devastating up close if you catch people. The secondary range, take it or leave it. It's 1 kilometer more. I don't think you'll really even notice, although they could have a good chance of setting fires, I suppose. I know the Ohio does, although the Ohio has better accuracy. Anyways, that is my take on power creep and the current state of the game. Let me know what you think below. This is Derka signing off. I'll catch you in the next one. See ya.